Hey ladies, welcome to the Bustmob podcast, a breast and body positive resource that was created for the extraordinary women of Bustmob. Now, if you aren't familiar with Bustmob, we're a community of kind and supportive women who are really just cheering each other along on our booby journeys. Now, you can join us for free and connect with thousands of other ladies at bustmob.com. I'm your host, Jenny Eden, and I'm joined by one of my favorite people, Greta Nance, and we have such an exciting show for you today. So today's going to be fun. Greta is going to be interviewing me on my breast augmentation when I actually flew here as a travel patient to Amelia Aesthetics. So thank you, Greta.
I am not a great interviewer.
Oh, yes, you are.
But I've just heard this story be told in lots of different ways before, and I think it's so important because I didn't travel for my breast augmentation. It wouldn't even have occurred to me. But these days, travel and finding the right surgeon and with Bustmob, I feel like we're all more connected than ever. And a lot of options are more available to people. And I think women are demanding better for their surgery. So for a lot of reasons, travel surgery, AKA travel surgery, is becoming a lot more popular. So I want to understand how that worked for you, what that looked like how much time that you spent here and virtual consultations. That has been something our practice has been doing for a while, but how does that actually work? So you had a breast augmentation first. Was that one a travel surgery too? So tell me about that.
So my first one was back in 2010. God, it's 10 years ago. And I flew down to Miami from Nashville, Tennessee.
Why?
Well,
you know what I mean? Even just that part of it, that wouldn't have occurred to me.
Yeah.
But I think that's because I found a great surgeon in my area.
Yeah.
I guess, did you just not have any in your area that you loved?
I don't even think I looked in my area. And it was funny, one of the reasons I started Eden Nose Implants was it was birthed out of a place of being more educated and informed on all things. And I was not educated and informed with my first breast augmentation, which is why I wanted to create Eden Nose Implants. So with my first one, I really let my husband kind of do the research because that's what he was naturally gifted in. He's good at the details. He's good at looking at credentials, thinking of all the things that I'm meh, sure.
The logistics.
Right. And I'm just so kind of free-spirited in the relationship. I really didn't care, and I trusted that he would just find somebody. So it was someone in Miami. He happened to be a celebrity surgeon, which is, I've heard now, is kind of don't choose someone just because they're a celebrity surgeon. But I didn't hear that 10 years ago. So I flew down there first. But before I flew down there, we had a phone call. And I talked to the patient care coordinator and the staff. And then we flew down the day before my surgery. And I don't ever mention the surgeon. I don't want to because I don't want anything negative to come back on him. But from the first moment I actually met the staff, they were gossiping and complaining, and the nurses were pissed they had to be there at 7 a.m. And I'm isn't that your job? So from the beginning I was I don't know if I like it. But my outcome was fine. It wasn't exactly what I wanted, but it didn't really even occur to me to look locally because I know I wrote an article on this. It's well, when you go to get a cup of coffee, is it do you want Folgers or do you want the single origin organic option? And most people are well, if it's only a couple dollars difference, then I want the better one. And it's kind of the same way in my mind. Just because someone's local doesn't mean you should go to them unless it feels right. Just because it's out of necessity or convenience, but I can go 10 minutes up the road and have surgery and go home. I'm well, is that the right place though? Do they have what you want, or are you just going there because they're cheaper or they're closer? That should not be what you look at for surgery.
Tell me about that surgery still. How long did you stay in town? So you had under the muscle implants placed. What was your recovery like? Did you stay in a hotel? Paint a picture for me.
All right, here's the picture. So I had surgery, and then I woke up in the recovery area, and the nurse was so tell me, what's your pain like on a scale of 1 to 10? And I was a 9. And they're like, all right, here's a peppermint. They put a peppermint in my mouth and like wheeled me out. And I was like, I just told you I had a pain of 9. Like I wasn't being dramatic. And in hindsight, I still don't think I was being dramatic. And I remember like, I felt awful. I got in the car and I went to the hotel and I ended up like losing the peppermint on the ride and it got stuck in my hair. And I don't know how long it was in my hair. I don't remember getting it out. But as soon as my husband wheeled me into the hotel room, I like puked all over myself. Like it was a shit show from the beginning. And however, I stayed in the hotel room for, I would say 3 days, which was enough time for me to recover. And I'll never forget there was a Steak and Shake in the parking lot of the hotel I was staying at. So not the first night, but the second night, I actually walked to the Steak and Shake. I had like the marker drawn all over me and I'm like eating a burger. I'm like living my best life. And then I flew home 3 days later and I tell people this now. Like I told the flight or the people at the check-in, like, hey, I just had surgery. Can I board early? And they're like, of course. So I was nervous about people bumping into me. And the flight was fine. I got to get on first. I was first off the plane, so I wasn't being damaged or like bumped into, which was my biggest fear. And then I was fine.
Were there any, like, tell me about follow-up, though. Because I'm like, so you didn't see him ever again?
I did not. I did take a photo. I don't remember how far post-op I was, probably 4 or 6 weeks. I took a picture. I emailed it to the patient care coordinator. I never talked to the surgeon again. I mostly corresponded with the patient care coordinator, and she was great. She was really nice. I didn't have any issues to follow up on, so I was pretty much just like released into the world.
Mm-hmm. I guess because you didn't have anything to compare it to. You didn't know. I think I've heard you say that before, that you didn't know what you didn't know.
Right.
It was also 10 years ago. You were a lot younger, and because you had nothing to compare it to, you didn't realize it wasn't an awesome experience until you decided to do it again. So, like, I get that too, though. Doing it at 25 years old here at Amelia Aesthetics, like, I definitely remember some pain and remember some things, but I don't, since I had nothing to compare it to, I totally thought all the things were normal. But mine was a really good experience, and it was just so nice to be able to recover at home.
I bet.
But I've heard, like, recovering in a hotel also sounds kind of nice, especially if you have kids and things like that. So tell me about the difference.
Like what was different?
Tell me about your experience then. What was it? How many years later?
So I was 25 when I had my first breast augmentation, and then I don't know. It was 2017 when I came here.
Got it.
I do know that. Math isn't my thing. So 7 years later. And I wasn't apprehensive to travel because I know I'd done it before. And flying to Miami, like in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm going somewhere people go to vacation. Like that was kind of cool. And at the end of the stay, like we actually went out to like South Beach, which is a whole nother world. And we went to dinner and we made it an experience, which I loved. So the second time I was like, okay, well, I'm ready to exchange my implants out for bigger ones. And I wanted a lift because I had Hazel. And I also had some like underlying things I needed fixed from my breast reduction, which is a whole other story for another day. But when I thought about like who I wanted to go to, I had already created Edenose implants at the time. I had Bustmob going. And so I was very much involved the second time around. Like I knew what I wanted. I knew what I was looking for. I felt, because of what I created, I felt more empowered about like what I was doing. So when I started Edenose implants, I had Dr. Jeremy Pyle, who works here at Amelia Aesthetics. He was one of the first surgeons to be like, hey, I love what you're doing. Patient education is really important to me. And I hadn't really heard that before from anyone, any surgeon. And he was like, if you ever need help with an article or if you get hung up, send it to me and I can like look at it and send it back, like to make sure everything's right if you're unsure. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So he really helped Edenose implants kind of become what it is today because he invested his time and his emotional energy into what it was. Like he believed in it and he encouraged me to keep doing it. And I was like, that's awesome.
So did you have like a short list of surgeons? Like, again, mine was so long ago, I don't remember like how I chose. I do remember choosing it was really important to me to have surgery in a private surgery center. So even if the guys or girls were on my list, if they operated at a hospital or didn't have their own, like I eliminated them. Like, tell me what your process looked like of like, hey, I'm not willing to travel out of the country, or I am, or that kind of thing. Because Raleigh certainly isn't a vacation destination usually. So I know you didn't choose Raleigh for that.
Yeah, it was mostly because like I looked for the right surgeon and not just the outcome, but kind of like the spirit behind what they do. Like I didn't want to go to some douchey surgeon in Miami who would treat me like a number and herd me through the office. Like that was my first experience. And after starting Bustmob, I like read everyone else's experiences and I'm like, whoa, like that was not what mine was like when I had it done in 2010. So I knew I wanted a surgeon who cared about what he did. He was interested in educating women, who had a passion for it. And of course, also had great before and afters. But it's more to me than before and afters. And so when I dug into it, and yeah, I did have a short list of surgeons that I was considering, and Dr. Pyle was on that list. There was, I know, 3 other surgeons on it. And all of them were involved in eating those implants. So I knew they got it. But Dr. Pyle was still the one that was just always at the top. And
did you have virtual consultations or phone calls ahead of time too? Because especially because it wasn't a straightforward breast augmentation at that point, it was more like a revision. Yeah, I'm sure more conversation had to happen. Tell me what that looked like.
Well, first I had a phone call, and I got to just chat and get to know the patient care coordinator and him. And then I sent photos. So that was the next step. Like, I had my husband take some pictures, front on, sides, and I could just send those to him so he could get an idea of like what he was working with. And then I flew in the day before surgery so I could get my prescriptions. I could meet the staff. I could come in, like get to know like my environment. And I figured out, I didn't figure it out, but I checked into my hotel room the day before. So I kind of got the whole nesting game happening. So I got the bed ready. I made sure to get all the groceries I needed. Like, where's the local smoothie shop? Where do I get dinner on day 2? Like, kind of all those little things. And then I got settled in and then had surgery that morning.
Got it. Wait, so what'd you bring with you? You know, because I bet there's only so many things you can bring on a plane. Like, what were your necessities so you could nest in a hotel room?
Well, I'm a little extra. So I packed my 45-degree pillow and all the attachments. And I remember like at the Raleigh airport waiting on it, and you see the sponge come around like on the carousel, like where all the luggage is. I'm like, that's my sponge. But now I know to call it a pillow, but I called it a sponge. And so like all 4 pieces came around. I like gathered my stuff, but
oh my gosh.
Of course not everybody does that. But I knew I used that with my first breast dog, and I kept it. So I was like hell-bent on bringing it with me because it was just so comfortable, and I'm a stomach sleeper. So anything to keep me out of 45 was just, I had to have it. But I also packed things like what to wear the morning of surgery, like something front zip or something easy to put on, like not yoga pants, but like sweatpants. Yeah, they still make those. And slip-on shoes.
So did you guys taxi, like Uber? What'd you do from the hotel to the surgery center?
God, I haven't thought about that in a while. We rented a car.
Oh, got it. Okay. Because how long did you guys stay in Raleigh for your revision surgery?
I had surgery on a Friday morning, and I flew home Monday morning.
Oh, okay.
Is that right? No, that's wrong. Wrong. I had surgery Thursday because I came back in the day after surgery. Which when I heard, like, oh, we want to see you the day after, I'm like, y'all are crazy. Like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. Because in my mind, I was comparing it to my first surgery, which was a total shit show. And this one was completely different. Like, I got to meet my anesthesiologist beforehand. I let her know, like, hey, I think I'm pretty sensitive because I puked all over myself. And let me, what's it called? Let me go this way. What's this called? I'm derailing the conversation. So in Miami, I met the anesthesiologist, and I also told him I had issues with it because I had a hard time waking up when I was younger. I don't know that he was listening because it was still terrible. So when I met the anesthesiologist here for my revision, like I told her pretty much the same things. Plus I threw up on myself, And she was able to like adjust the anesthesia or do something different to where it was a complete night and day difference in surgery. Like had I probably had the other anesthesiologist before, I would have been so sick. And because she listened to me and she took into consideration what I was saying and made a whole new concoction. I don't know what they do back there, but I felt so good when I woke up. Like I was not nauseous. I was not in a lot of pain. If I had to rate it, it was like a 1.
Wow.
Like I was ready to get out of the bed, get in the chair, and go to the hotel. Like I was so happy. It was insane.
Got it. So you stayed in the hotel for X number of days, or did you get out and wander around?
That's a good question. I actually went to dinner the next night.
Oh, nice.
Another burger place. Got it. And I just want to say for the record, I haven't eaten meat in 3 months, so me talking about eating burgers all the time is really weird. But the night after my surgery, not the night of, but the next night, we went to, not Bad Daddy's, Five Guys. I had the biggest double cheeseburger and fries, still drawn. I had the marks on because I have a picture sitting there. But again, like the night of surgery, Jesus, I had another burger. Okay, so I had a burger that night too with fries. I don't even remember eating it, but I saw like the wrappers the next morning, and I was like, y'all had burgers without me? And they're like, no, that's yours. And I was like, oh, I don't remember eating it at all, but apparently it was good. So.
That's so funny. Well, that's right, because you had someone there kind of filming a little bit too, right? Yeah. So tell me about your documentary experience. Like, was that cool? Are you glad you did that?
I'm really glad I did it. I had my husband and our friend who actually did graphic design for us for Eden knows implants. They came with me. And they filmed the entire thing from like me packing to flying to meeting Dr. Pyle for the first time in person, the day of my surgery, me coming out of anesthesia, which seems to be a crowd pleaser because I'm yelling for my hat. But it was good because I felt like I couldn't be flighty. Like I couldn't like not take it seriously, which I have a tendency to be like, oh, it's going to be fine. But I'm like, okay, there's a camera on me. I need to make sure I ask questions that I need answers to. Like it upped my seriousness, like knowing it was going to be filmed and I was going to see it, but I wouldn't change that for anything.
Yeah, it's so helpful for people. Like, because again, I would have never contemplated traveling, but that made it seem possible. And I'm not going to say easy, but you were very realistic about the whole thing. Like, it's not fake and it's not sugar-coated.
Yeah.
And so I do think that's really helpful for people because even here in North Carolina, there's a lot of towns that don't have a board-certified plastic surgeon within 4 hours, just the way our state is laid out. And then, like, in 4 hours, you could take, a quick flight to somewhere where there's a bunch of great surgeons to choose from. Like, I again feel so lucky that I lucked into a great practice for my breast augmentation because now in hindsight, I've had them for 17 years and I've loved them every morning and every night. Like had I chosen a cheap or easy route, like I've just seen so many women who have it done and just really aren't happy, and then they're spending more money or going through more surgery to even get it back to where they wanted it.
So they're traveling to get it fixed. And it's like, well, if you had just traveled the first time to that surgeon, you wouldn't be doing this again.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, tell me what post-op, though, then looks like, because I do know that that's important, and communicating with your surgeon. Like you said, you came in the day after. Did you guys have communication after that too?
I did. Yep. I actually had direct communication with Dr. Pyle. So he called me the night of the night after surgery to check on me, which I don't think happened the first time. That's like one of those things that really sticks out in your mind. Like this surgeon took time out of his day to make sure I was feeling okay. Like that went a long way with me. But then when I flew home, and I do want to say like recovering at a hotel is a ton of fun. Like first of all, I didn't have my daughter like running around and me feeling guilty that mommy wasn't there, like that wasn't even an issue because I was in a hotel somewhere else recovering and eating cheeseburgers, which is not a good post-op recovery food, just everybody. But I will say I came back the next day. I felt fine. I was like walking around, like I wasn't in pain. Like it was so great. So when I flew home like 2 or 3 days later, I was back into my routine. Granted, I wasn't like, I know you like to say, when I say this, I wasn't breakdancing on day 5, but I also wasn't picking up my daughter, but my mom was there at home helping me, like with the childcare stuff, putting her in the car seat, lifting her and all that. And then I had a phone call with Dr. Pyle about a week post-op, make sure everything was fine. We did the same at 6 weeks, make sure everything was good. And then at 12 weeks, I sent him the photos, like front on, side view, just for him to like see that things were dropping well, nothing looked funky, whatever surgeon's eyes look for. And I sent those at 12 weeks. And at that point, like, I was done.
That's cool.
Good to go.
And so the documentary, I think, is so helpful for so many women. So that's on YouTube, right?
Mm-hmm.
How can people find that? And how long? It's long, too, isn't it?
It's about 27 minutes. And you can find it on YouTube. Just search Eden Nose Implants documentary. And even if you just find my Eden Nose Implants page on YouTube, it's like the highlight video. So it's the first thing that plays when you click on it anyways.
That's cool.
Yeah,
it is entertaining and well done. If someone is contemplating travel surgery, what would your advice be to her?
Make sure you talk to them on the phone first. Get an idea of who they are, what they're about. Are they arrogant or pompous, or are they like genuinely interested in talking to you? Like
phone call or like FaceTime? Like, do you find one more valuable than we usually use Zoom or FaceTime? I know here to do virtual consultations.
a FaceTime or Zoom, like being able to see them. That's helpful. And knowing what questions you want to ask ahead of time, like, are my goals achievable? Are they listening to my goals? Or are they telling me, like, is it like a one size fits all, which it is not. But some surgeons are very like hell bent on being like, well, I only do this and I only do this. Like I only do high profiles and I only do like 550. That's a red flag because that doesn't fit everyone's anatomy. So make sure like you communicate your goals during your consult and see if they feel confident. Like, yeah, I can do this for you. Or, I don't know, well, we need to talk about it. That's still good. Like they want to be, it's like a relational aspect to it. Like knowing that you have a team working with you to get you what you want, not one size fits all. So I'd look into that. Also see if they have something already set up in place for travel surgery. Like, do they have a hotel they recommend? Do they know like the quickest way there? Like, have they thought this through? Like, and also ask like, well, what is your follow-up care like? Is that set up? Is that in place?
Yeah, almost like a protocol.
Yeah.
For a travel patient. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a good one. We spent a lot of time working on that over the last couple of years. So patients arriving don't have to think it through because it's so much harder. You're in a new place. Where do I stay? You know, how do I get here? That's why I was even asking about the Uber and the car rental. Like there are so many logistics to think about when you're traveling. Definitely finding a practice that has already thought all of that through and done it hundreds of times is really important. That's a good one.
Yeah.
What else? Anything else that you would recommend to someone thinking about travel surgery or you're glad you knew afterwards?
Travel surgery isn't as hard as it sounds. Like it sounds like it'll be daunting and tricky and how do I do this and that? But really it's not that hard. It's like, okay, I get my tickets. Where am I going to stay? What do I pack? And then you do it. You just go, you meet the surgeon, you have the procedure done, you recover for a couple of days. And personally, I would way prefer, and I know this isn't for everyone, but I would way prefer to recover in a hotel room where I don't feel guilty that mommy's not making dinner or I can't pick you up. It was just like my time to recover and my time to do what I needed to do to feel my best when I left. And that was so guilt-free for me, especially as a mom.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Well, thank you for documenting it all. I think it's so helpful for so many women and being really real about it. It is certainly not glossed over, your recovery and constipation and waking up from anesthesia and all the things. Like, it's so helpful for us. So thank you for documenting that. And what would be some resources for someone if they are contemplating travel surgery? Because I know you, other than the documentary, what else would you recommend?
Well, here at Amelia Aesthetics, we have worked in making a great travel experience. And I love that I got to have a hand in that. Like, that makes me feel really proud. And so if it's something you're interested in learning more about, booking a virtual consultation, seeing like what our steps are, what hotel we recommend, all of that good stuff, you go to askamelia.com/travel. Again, that was askamelia.com/travel. It's very simple, and you'll see our page where it has like the hotel we recommend, what is our protocol like, how meet the surgeon, like all the things. And so that is a great place to start to see if it's even like something you would be interested in doing. And we have like the systems built here to have a great virtual consultation, to be able to see you the day before surgery. Like I lived that, and I know, I mean, this was like what, almost 4 years ago. And so it's only gotten better from 4 years ago, which I love. Like that's one thing I also love about this practice is that we want to make it better. Like everything we do is to make it better. And it has in the past 4 years. And also the follow-up care, there's like a strategy behind that. I know we give people like the neck pillow and the cup. And I know like I nerd out on the ancillary stuff, but those are so helpful in recovering. Having that neck pillow and the cup of water that you don't have to like, I don't know, just all the things.
Yeah, the neck pillow is something you didn't have to bring with you if you're traveling.
Right.
Like we do everything we can to provide what you need to have not only the safest recovery, but the easiest and most relaxing recovery. So those are good points as well. And we do have a great virtual protocol for those things because this has to be safe for people too. And we've made it very safe. There are certainly surgeries that cannot be done on travel patients, but most can very safely and easily. So thank you for sharing your experience today.
You're welcome.
And where can we head to read more information about travel surgery?
That is askamelia.com/travel. And if you happen to be a travel patient here, let me know, because I love meeting Bustmob ladies here. I like going to the OR with them if they need me to. I can hold their hand. I can take photos if you want, just all the things. So just know that you are very taken care of here.
Thanks so much, Jenny.
You're welcome.